In this lecture, we will learn a very important function of focus, and this is the so-called in-painting and out-painting. And this basically means that we have the opportunity to in-paint things within our existing image or to out-paint something, which basically means to extend an existing image and to draw new things around an existing image. And in the end, everything is blended in and fits perfectly. So let's have a look onto my screen how we do that. Good, we go back to the exercise sheet and we scroll down to the exercise about inpainting. First, we will try out the default mode and modify content mode, and afterwards there's another mode which we will also try out. So the first task is to try to inpaint a sleeping door here on the floor of this office. And this is what we are going to do now. So we go back to focus. I'm here in the starting screen, and first we need advanced settings and also input image. Then we go to inpaint or outpaint, and here we have the possibility to upload an image and to inpaint something. Good, so let's upload our office example image number 8. And as you can see, I have this little pencil now. And as I mentioned earlier, with the shift key on the keyboard and the mouse wheel, you can zoom in and out. And with the control key and the mouse wheel, you can make the brush bigger or smaller. You can also use here this slider up here, and then you can just mask areas and you can undo it here. Okay, so in the first exercise now, we just zoom in a little bit and we mask something down here. And the goal now is to inpaint a sleeping dog on the floor of our office. And to do that, we have several possibilities. Down here, you see something called method. And there we have 3 methods: inpaint or outpaint, which is the default. We have improve detail and we have modify content. And in this exercise, we will test out the default and also modify content, because these methods are the ones we use if we strongly want to change something within the image. And as we want to inpaint a dog, which is not there yet, we have to use these strong methods. And improve detail is more for subtle changes. If you, for example, just want to increase the quality of something or change it a little bit, but more on that later. In the first try, we will go with the default method. We masked the area here where we want to have the dog, and then we go up here to this prompt field. And then we type here a sleeping dog on the floor. Okay. Then here in the advanced setting, we select JPEG and we just create one image. We use quality, and as usual, we use the realism engine. That's it for now. And now we can hit generate, and hopefully we get a sleeping dog right here on the floor. Nice, we have our image, and you might have noticed, but I did a little mistake. I wrote gawk instead of dog. I'm not sure if this is even an English word, but we still got a nice dog sleeping on the floor. And this is a nice thing regarding stable diffusion, that we don't even have to spell everything correct, because stable diffusion works with context, and just out of the context, stable diffusion knew that I actually want to inpaint a dog. So this is pretty cool. Good. Then we make a copy of that prompt and we go down here to this area again. And now we test out a different method. This is modify content. And as it already says, this is for adding objects, changing the background, and so on. And in my personal experience, I can tell you that this method is stronger. So with that method, you get what you want to have in that image. So it's actually forced into the image. And sometimes this is even too much, but we will try it out. And I just can recommend you to test out which method works better for your particular example. So yeah, we will give it a try with that method as well, with the sleeping dog. Now I write it correctly, dog on the floor, and then we will compare the the results. Good. Our second dog is also done, and this looks also very, very nice. So let's compare the results. For that, we go here to the history log, and then we can compare the two images. So down here we have the first result, which was the default mode, and then here we have the second result. This was the modify content method. And if we compare it, I think both results are pretty good. The dog here looks actually even better with the second method. But just keep in mind that if you use these methods down here, that the second one, or better the third one, modify content, is stronger. So you get what you want to have in the image 100%, but sometimes it can look artificial and too much. And in that case, I would go to the Inpainting default mode. Then it looks better blended in. Also, if you want to change the clothing, for example, of a character, I would stick to the default method, because then it's better blended in. And if you go with the modify content method, it could look a little bit artificial. Good. Before we go now over to the next exercise, which is to try out improved detail, I want to show you another thing which is pretty cool about Inpainting. So now we added a new object, but we can also just change things within the existing image. And this is what we do now. So we delete this prompt here, and we go to the Inpainting default method. And then with this little sign here, we can delete this mask. Then I will zoom in again, and for example, I can mask this chair right here, and we just paint over it like this. Make sure you hit everything. Then we zoom out again. We go up here, and instead of the sleeping dog, I type now a green leather chair, and then we hit generate, and hopefully we get now a green leather chair. So you see, Inpainting also gives us the opportunity to not even inpaint new things or delete things in the image. We can also change the colors, shapes, whatsoever of existing things in our images. And this is pretty useful because sometimes we have an almost perfect image, but for example, we don't like the color of a chair, lamp, whatever. And as you can already see here in the generation process, then we can just change it to another color, to another style whatsoever. Nice. This also worked really, really good. And if we go to the history log and compare the result, we see now we have our green chair, and before it was a dark red chair, and also our nice little dog. So you see, you have a lot of opportunity with Inpainting to customize the image to your exact needs. And this is pretty useful. Keep in mind that there's another feature which is called the parameter Inpaint denoising strength, but we will come to that later in the section about expert knowledge. And this parameter gives us the opportunity to achieve something in between these different methods down here, but more on that later. Now we go back to the exercise sheet, and we will have a look at the next exercise. And now the task is to improve details, to improve the quality of that face. Because when you zoom in, you will see the eyes are a little bit damaged, and also the ear, and it just doesn't look perfect. And this is what we do now. So we go back here to focus, we delete that prompt, and then here we also delete this one here, our example image. We go back to our folder, and then we upload example image 9. Then we zoom in, and we paint just above that face. Make sure to also include the ear, the chin, but you don't have to be too precise here. Then we zoom out again, and down here we select improve details, and you also have the opportunity, for example, to add here another little prompt just to specify what detail you actually want to improve. For example, we can type beautiful um, face of a German girl. Just an example. Let's see how the German girl will look like. And as you can see, it already says as an example, hands, eyes, etc. So this method you can use to improve any detail you can think of. And then the change is more subtle. So it's not like a complete change and you get a complete new image. So the details are basically conserved, the general structure, but it's just improved quality. Good. Then we go up here and we hit generate to see how the face of our girl will look like after that improvement phase. Good, we are now in the generation process of that image, and as you can see now it's just zoomed into the face, and the face is now enhanced regarding the quality. So we get a higher resolution, more pixels, and of course a better quality. Also the little arrows are fixed now, the ear looks perfect, also the eyes, the lips and everything. And this is very, very important because most of the time, if you generate an image, for example, of a person, the face looks a little bit weird, and the teeth and the ears and so on, and especially the eyes. And with improved detail, you can just achieve so much higher quality. So this is very, very useful, and you should keep that feature in mind. Good, the image is done. And as you can see, now the face looks absolutely fantastic, like a real photo. Because before, when we zoom into example image 9, you see that we had some little damages in the eyes and also here the color and the ear. It just looked a little bit weird. And when we look now at the face, it's a perfect face and a beautiful photo. Good. Before we finish that lection and learn in the next lection how to upload a mask to very precisely do inpainting in an existing image, I want to show you one more thing, and that is the so-called outpainting. What is now outpainting? This functions more or less the same than the inpainting, but we will add things outside of an existing image. So we go to advanced settings, input image, and here to inpaint or outpaint, and first we have to upload an image. And in this case we will use again the office you already know, and we just upload it. And then we can do exactly the same. We can use the modes here, but for outpainting, as it already says, we need the default inpaint or outpaint. And then we can use the pencil to decide where we want to extend the image. And in this case, I would like to extend the image to the right side. So we just use the pencil and we mask that area here on the right side. Good, I zoom out again. And then we can decide here where we want to outpaint or extend the image. And in this case, I want to outpaint it at the right side. So I check that box. Or for example, if you want to outpaint it at the left, you use the left and so on. I think you get the concept. And then we just have to type into the prompt window what we want to see here in the extension of the image. And in that case, I just type into that window a well-dressed old businessman in a suit. So I just imagine that this is the office of an entrepreneur or a lawyer, I don't know. And now we want to have this guy here at the right end, but we also want the image extended. Then we click here on JPEG and quality. And of course, we also have to select the base model. We go again with the realism engine, and then we hit generate to see if the image is extended how we wish that to be. Good, I stopped the generation process now because we already got a really, really nice result. So let's check it out. As you can see now we have an old businessman here at the right end of the image. And as you can see when we scroll down, initially the image was way smaller and now the image is extended and we even got our businessman. So this is a great, great opportunity to extend images and to change, for example, also the aspect ratio. And as you can see, it's just blended in perfectly. Even regarding the lighting, I think Focus did a great job to integrate that man into that image, and I really, really liked the result. Good, that's it for the improved detail feature and for inpainting in general. But we will use inpainting again and again in the course because it's a very, very important feature and you will learn even more about it step by step. So stay tuned.